Hello, Professor Laird here. Welcome to the Sum1 American Government course. I hope everyone is well and staying safe. Let me go ahead and address that right up front. I know there's a lot of concern out there, a lot of anxiousness of the time we're in, but as long as we're at home and staying safe and being well, let's use this period to work on our brains. Let's read some good books. Let's focus on our studies. I'm, in fact, using this period to conduct my own study. I'm texting the theory that as you get older, you lose hair. I think I might be able to refute that hypothesis. I only have a sample size of 1, though. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into the syllabus. Should have a hard copy of the syllabus with you. So let's go through it in detail so that we're clear on what is going to be required for the course. So what I'm going to do is go right into Moodle, click on the syllabus. As I said in my announcement that you would want to get access to Moodle. Here are the particulars of the course. There's my email, rlaird@bergen.edu. I will do some video conferencing if you are interested in doing that. They will typically be on Thursdays. We'll look at the schedule here in a minute. Here's the course description. I'll let you read that for yourself, but we are going to be talking about the basics of American government, and it's going to be quite a bit of information here. We're going to be touching on a lot of stuff. The first week, we're going to be discussing the Constitution. Then we're going to get into the basics of the foundations of government, the 3 branches of government. Then we'll be talking about other types of institutions such as the press. We'll be looking at interest groups, public opinion, economic policy, and foreign policy. So I'm giving you the same amount of information that I would be giving in a normal fall or spring semester course. Textbook is American Government, Brief Introduction, and I have the digital copy there. Everything will be on Moodle, as I've said. Lecture notes, video lectures, tests, any supplemental articles, any other reading assignments, pop quizzes, whatever. They will be posted on Moodle every single day. There'll be something going on Monday through Friday for the most part. You'll also want to keep up with current events on politics and government through credible news sources. That will be important to your paper topic that we'll be talking about a little bit later on. We're also going to learn about peer-reviewed academic journals, how important they are to reading about your paper and preparing for your paper. So we will get into those fairly quickly. I will post videos about your paper as well as how to access the peer-reviewed academic journals. So this is very important right here to talk about the course participation. Keep in mind, this is not a self-paced course. This is not going to be a course where you're going to just blow it off until the last week and then try to just catch up on all the readings and lectures and tests. It doesn't work that way. This course will be as interactive as I can possibly make it on a daily basis. It is very important that you access Moodle and your email every single day. This will be a 6 weeks course, and it will be Monday through Friday. As I said, same material that you would have in a normal fall or spring lecture. Video lectures, along with a discussion forum following that video lecture, will be typically Monday through Thursday. Every other Thursday, I will use as a Q&A study guide day. We'll look at the schedule in detail here in a minute. And there'll be 3 tests, and the tests will be every other Friday. The deadlines for the discussion forums and the tests will be 10 p.m. each evening. So that's an important time to remember. 10 p.m., remember that. Every day, if there's any assignment, discussion forum, test, whatever, they will be due by 10 p.m. and then that will be closed. That's how I will be taking attendance. Attendance will be from these daily responses to the discussion questions from the video lectures. If you do not respond by the 10 p.m. deadline, that would result in an absence for that day's lecture. Just as if you weren't in class in a normal semester class, if you don't respond to the forums, you'll be absent that day. And just as I would in a normal class, each absence will result in a deduction of 5 points from the attendance grade. The attendance grade is 15% of your course grade. We'll look at that in a minute. So for example, if you miss 3 of the discussion forums or any other assignment, since they'll all be counted the same, that would mean your attendance grade would be at 85 points at that point. Now the discussion forum could be most of the time just simply responding to a question about the day's lecture. It could potentially be a group exercise that might require the class to communicate or interact in some way. Now, even though there's no right or wrong answers to a discussion forum, I am fairly particular here is that if somebody repeats what somebody else has already talked about, you'll have points detracted for that. So it's very important that you read the previous posts so that you know what other people have been responding to and what their ideas have been, so that you just don't parrot that and repeat that. We're trying to avoid repetition and try to improve the variety of ideas on these discussion forums. The forum might also be in a pop quiz format, which each student would be giving their own answers, and you would not be able to look at the others' responses. If a student misses a discussion forum, they are not to email the professor asking if they can please post a late response. We're moving on. If you miss it, you miss it. Don't want to sound harsh here, but this is very important. This is going to be as interactive as we can possibly be, and if you miss a deadline, that's going to happen, and then we're just going to move on to the next day, next topic. Now, if it sounds like I'm not from around here, well, you're correct. I'm from Pennsylvania. There's a new sheriff in town. Now, before we talk about tests, let me just zoom ahead here and look at the grading breakdown. There's to be 3 tests. Each test is 20% of the grade, so those 3 tests will be 60% of your total grade. The paper will be 25% of your grade, and there's the participation that we just talked about that is 15% of your grade. Now let's talk about the tests. Very important. 3 tests. They'll all be online every other Friday, covering about 4 to 5 chapters each. Since they will be open book, open note type of tests being online, they will be timed. So you will need to be prepared to take that test in one sitting. As I said, I will give you till 10 p.m. that night to complete the test, and it will more than likely be up by 10 o'clock that morning, or at least by 12 noon. So you will have an 8 to 10 hour window in which to take that test within the designated time period in one sitting. The time frame will be probably anywhere from 35 to 40 minutes to take that test. You will not have time to look up the answers during the test, so you will want to be prepared for that test just as if you were taking it in the classroom setting. I will post a study guide each Wednesday evening before the test, and typically on Thursdays I'll use those days before the test for any type of question and answer forums that we might want to have, or even video conferencing, that sort of thing. The tests will include more than likely multiple choice, matching, fill in the blank, true, false, short answer, short essay questions. The short essay question will require the student to demonstrate some fundamental understanding of what is being asked. So keep in mind, if you just simply copy and paste a list from the video lecture onto your test, that will not be adequate. You probably will get maybe only half credit, which, yes, you're demonstrating that you know where to find those answers, but you have to be able to demonstrate enough, elaborate just enough to show the professor that you understand what we're talking about. You just can't copy and paste and slap those lists of some bullet points onto the test. This is also very important because this makes a lot of students mad towards the end of the semester when they realize that there's no makeups here. Failure to complete any test by the required deadline will result in 0 points for that test. So that's 20% of your grade done. There should be no excuse because we know right now, right this minute, you know exactly when the tests are going to be, and you'll know that they'll need to be finished by 10 p.m. on that Friday evening. It is the student's responsibility to communicate with the professor if there's any issue. Keep in mind that you must take test number 3, the final test, in order to pass the course. Now, yes, I used to be an engineer for 20 years down in Texas before I went back to grad school to become a professor. So that's just to kind of give you an idea that every single thing that I ask you to do in this class is for a reason. Now let's look at the paper assignment. Each student, and I'll give you some time because we're going to go through the schedule here in detail in a minute. Each student will choose a current topic that's relevant to national government or politics, and that can include lots of issues. Now, one of the things I'm going to go ahead and stipulate here is that because we have one big major issue that's dominating all the other issues, what I want you to do is back up a little bit and think of an issue that was relevant before the coronavirus crisis hit, which we're still in the middle of. We don't really know exactly how that's going to come out, how it's going to affect government even in the short term or the economy in the long term. So I want you to focus on another topic that has been relevant for a while and will continue to be relevant after this current crisis that we're in is passed. Hopefully that will be sooner than later, but there's lots of topics out there that government either has to deal with or is influencing government, vice versa. So start brainstorming what's going to be an interesting topic for you to write about. We'll talk about that more as we go. I'll post some ideas and things like that. But a 1/2 page summary, that's all I need right off the bat, is a 1/2 page summary of that topic. That'll be on June 3rd, as you'll see here in the schedule here in a minute. What this summary will do will just simply describe what you want to write about, what your topic is and why, and you'd want to include one credible news source that helped you learn a little bit about that topic. And you may be asked to resubmit the summary if it's not quite clear, or if it's not very specific, or it's very vague, or if there's lots of other students looking at that same topic, I may get you to resubmit. Bottom line is that your topic must be approved before moving on to start preparing for your paper. At some point during week 4, perhaps, students will be asked to submit whatever peer-reviewed academic journal sources they have thus far in the proper format. And I will be giving you lots of information on how to access peer-reviewed journals and how to cite them correctly. Now, one of the things I need to make a note here is that when I ask you to turn in an assignment on a particular day, it will again have that 10 p.m. deadline. But if you do not turn in the required assignment on that day by that deadline, that will be counted the same as an absence. So that's part of this participation/attendance requirement, that when things are due, they need to be turned in on time. That's not fair to the other students who are diligently preparing that material and turning it in on time. As far as your paper goes, it'll be 4 pages minimum. This is in a Word file. That's not including your reference page. Paper will be due a week before the end of the class, Friday. The papers will be attached to a form that I'll post on Moodle in a Word file. That's in a Word file. That's so that I can put the comments on that file and then email it back to you. Here's the format for all of the paper assignments. Double-spaced, 12-point font, Times New Roman, 1-inch margins. Every paper that you turn in will have those same formatting requirements. As far as your paper goes, there'll be a minimum of 6 sources. At least 4 of those sources will be from peer-reviewed academic journals, which we are going to be spending quite a bit of time talking about as far as their importance, how to find them, and how to cite them. So keep in mind for your paper, it will be an objective, critical analysis of the issue. I'll be posting fairly early on a PDF file, a guide to writing your paper that will have lots of useful information on how I will be grading the paper and what will make your paper more interesting, more informative. The paper is not for the purpose of you to express your opinions or for you to tell me what you think is wrong with the world. That is exactly the opposite of what the purpose of this paper is. The paper is for you to demonstrate what you have learned about that topic from those credible sources. So if you want to put it in a nutshell, read a lot from credible sources and describe what you have learned. If you do that, you should be okay on the paper. Very importantly, do not copy and paste anything under any circumstances. That's lazy writing, could be considered plagiarism if you're not careful. Students are graded on their ability to gather the information from these credible sources, to synthesize it, summarize it, whatever, and display their understanding of that topic in their own words. So that's what's very important about the paper. Now, one thing I've noticed as my hair gets longer, I start getting this urge to play guitar, particularly this heavy metal genre. Just a bit about the honor code. Any form of cheating will not be tolerated and could result in expulsion from the school. Students are not to communicate any information whatsoever about the tests. So anything that, if you've taken the test or you're taking the test, no communication whatsoever about the material that's on the test. Each paper, of course, will be that student's own work. So any suspicious similarities between any student's papers or any tests answers could warrant an investigation. So don't even think about it. Don't even go there. Plagiarizing your class paper from another source or having somebody write it for you, that is strictly forbidden. Be sure to cite your sources. We'll talk more about that in considerable detail. As I said, do not copy and paste anything under any circumstances. We've talked about the grade breakdown here, so what I want to do for a few minutes specifically about what the class schedule is, and I've put it right there. You can go and print that page out if you want, and you'll have your entire course right there on one page. So looking at week 1, we're going to get right into it. Chapter 1, we're going to be looking at the introduction to American government. Keep in mind the 10 p.m. rule is in effect. Let me do it here. The deadline to respond to each of these discussion forums is 10 p.m. the day of. Any paper-related assignments must be posted by 10 p.m. on the day they're due. And the deadline to complete the test, which are every other Friday, will be 10 p.m. on that day. So looking at week number 1, we're going to be talking a lot about the Constitution, why we have a Constitution, what's in the Constitution, and how the framers sold the Constitution to the states in order to get it ratified. Each one of those will have a discussion forum on that day. On Friday of the first week, I'll go ahead and post a video about writing your paper to give you some good general info on getting started thinking about that. No discussion forum on that day. On Monday, I'm going to go ahead and observe the Memorial Day holiday. We won't be doing anything on that Monday, but on the Tuesday of the second week, we'll be looking at federalism, then civil liberties, and then on that Thursday of the second week, I may post a short video here about the 12th Amendment, but the main purpose of this day will be to talk about any questions that you may have regarding the upcoming test. The study guide will have been posted, so you'll know what the test is going to be focusing on. And if there's any questions, you can post them on the Q&A forum that I'm going to post on Moodle, so that's optional. You don't have to ask a question about the test if you don't have one. And I will also be available for any video conferencing if anybody wants that. I've got my own account with Zoom, but I'm also looking at WebEx where I could talk with several students at the same time if that's needed. There's Friday, May 29th is test number 1. We'll be looking at chapters 1 through 4, the foundations of the course. All right, let's look at week number 3. We'll be talking about the scientific method, which is very important to preparing for your paper. We'll be talking about Congress. See, we're getting into the institutions of government. Paper topic summary will be due on Wednesday, June 3rd. All I need is just a half page in the proper format telling me what you want to write about in Word file. Attach it to the form that I will put on the Moodle there. And if you don't turn in your paper topic summary by 10 p.m. that evening, you'll be counted absent. So that's how it works. That's how I'm going to try to make this as interactively participatory as I can throughout the course. We'll also be looking at the President's office on that week. And then on Friday, June 5th, I'll post another video specifically about peer-reviewed academic journals, how important they are, why they're important, where to find them. No discussion forum on that day. The 4th week, we'll be looking at the executive branch, the bureaucracy, and the courts with discussion forums following each of those lectures on those days. Thursday, June 11th, that will be a day dedicated to asking any questions about the upcoming test on the study guide, video conference if needed. And then test number 2 will be on Friday, June 12th. We'll be looking at chapters 5 through 8 as well as the scientific method. That will be, again, an online test. Deadline to complete that will be 10 p.m. that evening. The last 2 weeks of the course, we'll be looking at some other institutions that are affected by or that affect government. We'll be looking at public opinion, the media, looking at elections, looking at political parties. We'll be focusing quite a bit here on interest groups, each with a discussion forum. And then your paper will be due on Friday, June 19th, as I said earlier. Attach that as a Word file to the form that I will set up. Last week of class, be looking at the last couple of chapters here. Economic policy, I'm going to break that down into 2 videos, but I'm going to post them both on that same day. Foreign policy will be broken up into 2 videos, and I'll split those up over those 2 days, as you can see. And then Thursday, June 25th, study guide. If you have any questions about that, that's optional. If you want to talk about the study guide or what might be on the test, video conferencing as needed. And then on the last day of class, Friday, June 26th, will be test number 3, looking at chapters 9 through 14. Forget about it. So if you have any questions, you can shoot me an email as shown on the syllabus. Now we'll see you on Monday.